to find that spot. And it just more. Perfect. I believe I've set it to record, and I'm just checking with Sandra, who also is setting it to record, so that we'll be able to share the webinar. So welcome everybody to our 555 Live in 5 Part 2 for today, and this is where we touch back with the people, the two people that were coached during our last webinar a month ago, and find out and support you in seeing the continuity when we have a coaching session and then we have another one. And we had a lot of people requesting that we do that, so we thought we'd do that. So I'd like to introduce a few of the people that will be supporting us today, and most importantly, our two coachees, because they're what made this happen last time, and we couldn't have done it without them. So I want to first of all welcome Carol Gray, and Carol is going to show, there she is, and hi Carol from Tall Trees Leadership. She was coached last time by me, and she's going to be coached again by me this time, so welcome.
Thank you.
Good. And also I'd like to introduce Leah. There she is from Tall Trees Leadership as well, and so Leah will be the second one who's going to be coached. And then I would also, so Leah, thank you so much for being willing to do this again. Oh, I can't hear you. You just need to turn on your mic.
I forgot. I'm looking
That's
forward
okay.
to being here. Thank you.
Good, terrific. And then I'd also like to introduce Mark Bowles, who is my another very experienced coach who was here last time, and Mark will be providing feedback on the coaching that I will be conducting with Leah, with Carol. And so Mark is also a very experienced coach and senior trainer with Coaching Out of the Box. And so we are so excited about the interest that we've had for this, and excited to be doing this again. So I just want to acknowledge everybody who's here, and I want to also acknowledge all the viewers. And if you haven't seen, you can certainly post any questions in the Q&A, and as we're doing the debrief, we will move through that, and as well through the second one as well. And so without further ado, I would like us to begin the first coaching. And so Carol, if you could reveal yourself to us.
Well, to me and everyone, yes.
Right. And I know that I got a little instruction from Sandra about how to set up the way the videos, both of us are showing, and somehow or other it doesn't seem to be also allowing me to gallery view. Here we go. Ah, there we go. That should be working now. So great. So Leah, Carol, sorry, I keep doing that. Carol, thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So here we are, and I do want to mention something that normally in a real formal coaching conversation we talk about confidentiality, etc. Well, it's kind of, in this case, it's not quite correct, and you are totally fine about that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you know, it would be the same if maybe I was walking down a hallway and I was being coached like as a leader. We wouldn't necessarily be doing that either. So this just wanted to emphasize that for today, because this is recorded and we'll be sharing it afterwards. For those who weren't able to make it, we'll have it on our website as well. So I really appreciate your willingness to do that.
Sure.
And so we've got about 10 minutes or so. So that's very brief. And I'm so delighted to reconnect. And I also wanted to just say thank you very much, because during our last coaching, as some of you may or may remember, is some of our last coaching, you had made a commitment. And and I did receive an email from you, but could you just recap for me what you walked away with, if you can remember, as a result of our coaching last time?
When we talked last time, Allison, we were really focused on my new venture, which was writing a book and how I might get started. And at the end of the coaching, the takeaway was for me to send you 10 things that I would do to move me along in my process of starting to write a book. And I had to send that to you by the following Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And I sent you an email with the 10 things, called it 10 Things for Allison.
Yeah.
And so that's where we left off, and that's what I had committed to do.
And you did. So way to go. And I know I did respond as well, because sometimes what happens in between coaching is short little emails come and go between a coach and a coachee at times. And so that was great. So, all right. So you got the list.
Yes.
So for the purposes of our time today, mm-hmm. I'm wondering, what would you like to specifically use this time for? That's going to have you say at the end, I'm really glad I did this. This was really valuable for me.
What I think would be very helpful today, I'll summarize briefly where I've come from and where I am. But for today would be to just take me one more step in this process. And that step would be to discover more about what the content of the book might look like.
Okay. All right. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you want to kind of fill that out a little bit more. What's going to be inside when we open the book, whether it's on our Kindles or whatever, or in hard copy form? What's inside?
Sure, yes. I think so, because it could be many, many things. And just grasping that sense of what would be the most important from my point of view, that I would feel that readers would have I think the best word is takeaways that would be helpful to them.
Okay, so, all right. And so tell me, what do you think it would be what would be helpful to leaders?
At this point, what I'm mulling over in my mind, and it's partly in the kind of steps or process that I've done since I've last talked to you, is to really think about what is the contribution based on my experiences as a leader in healthcare, because that's the field that I spend most of my time in, that would provide some learning and some maybe encouragement, I think would be another word, for people who might have some challenges with some of the issues that maybe are most common for I'm going to say young or middle managers, maybe even very experienced managers.
Okay, and so if I'm understanding you correctly, it's focused from your experience in the healthcare environment, and what you want is that experienced middle managers. Those are the ideal, if I'm hearing you right, readers of the book. What would be of value to them?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So, given that you want to, we want to talk about the content, so I'm going to ask you. So, what do you think would be of value to a healthcare leader?
From my experience, I've heard a lot from leaders that they find it sometimes challenging to make their way in a very large, complex system. Healthcare is very complex, very political, and it's not easy to navigate or to find the right opportunity. And from my experience, there are some issues or challenges along the way that I have navigated, and sometimes would have caused some stress or anxiety. And it would be good to share some of those with some stories to make it real. That people might go, that's sort of like what I'm dealing with, or gee, if I came across that, that's maybe going to help me a little bit to get over that hurdle.
Okay, so I'm as I'm listening to you, I'm first of all, I'm really getting you understand the landscape of a large, complex healthcare organization, and you want to make it easier for people who work in that environment. And so, if I want to just throw this out, what do you think? I'm just going to take a stab at this. Sure. What do you think Chapter 1 would be about?
Chapter 1, what's rumbling around in my head is how would I know if I really want to be a leader? Sometimes sometimes we hear people talk about experiences and they think, gee, is that leadership? Or actually, am I on a leadership path and I didn't even know it? Or are there some things that I'm doing that actually, if somebody was looking in, might say, you're actually starting to be a leader. But quite often, sometimes we don't really know that that's what we're doing. So it seems to me that would be perhaps a good place to start as a setting the stage. Because we often hear people say, and I was at a meeting just a couple of days ago where people say, well, I don't know. I don't think I'm a leader. I don't know what that's about. And I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Okay, so this is very interesting. I just what I'm noticing is that your approach in figuring out the content is a combination of things. I'm just noticing. Obviously, we're talking about it, and what I'm also hearing is you're getting some experiential times where you're out at various meetings and things where that's really also tightening it up as well. And I'm wondering, obviously we're not going to end up figuring out the entire content.
Oh dear, I thought we were.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, for just we don't have a whole heck of a lot of time left, but for the remaining time, what I'm wondering about is, what's going to be your process forward around figuring out what's going to be inside?
A couple of things. So there are what I would call, I'm going to just say tactical, right? Just setting time, getting a process so I can sit down and start putting words to paper or computer. Just getting those kind of methods really, I'm going to say, built in so that they feel very familiar. And then the other, which is what I'm going to call more conceptual, is around, so what are the pieces that make sense to actually build the components of the book? So as we just talked about, maybe Chapter 1 is sort of that setting the stage, or how do you know, how do you know you might be a leader or not, or whether that's your desire. But then what are the other components? And the process, it would be interesting because I'm not entirely sure how that process will unfold. But I think some of the ways might be, and I've started to do this and it's helpful, but it's not probably all the things necessary, is looking at other books where people have written from an experiential point of view. So I'm clear I don't want to write a theory of leadership book, and I don't want to research all the academia on that. But what are others saying and doing, and how are they articulating that?
Okay.
And seeing, I've just started to do that, and it's making a lot of sense because I can look at that and say, you know, I really like the way that that is presented. What are my takeaways on that? What is the style that this is it a style that I think would be more like me or comfortable for me? And the other thing, just in my preliminary start of that, is the reinforcement or the encouragement. This person did it, and I don't think I'm so different in capability. So it's interesting process that. So I think that's a very important process.
Excellent. And I'm hearing already that you're coming up with the pieces of that process, and that I love. I just want to acknowledge you for recognizing that this is going to be a leadership manual in a theory of leadership. This is pragmatic. What I'm hearing is a very pragmatic, practical approach that is going to be a godsend for people that are in this role, and a reminding them or a recognizing of, they're already doing it or what's involved. So we've only got about a minute left, Carol. And so what I'm wondering is, as a result of our brief conversation, coaching conversation today, what specifically are you walking away with and committed to doing as a result of our 10 minutes together?
One key step is actually to begin with, and I'm going to say pen to paper, whether it's a computer or not, but it's that putting down and just putting down, if that makes sense. And not worrying about, does this sound right? Does it not? Or whatever. Just putting down information, concepts, thoughts, ideas, and so on. I think that will get some good momentum going, and sort of generate some juices and some sense of, well, you know what? If I did this, then maybe another component might be this. So I think that's a really key step. I just feel I'm on the cusp of that. So I need to do that.
And so, of course, you know me, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. So by when would you want to have that completed?
Well, I think there's, whether it's 10 words or whether it's 100 or more, we're at Wednesday. I would say something.
Okay.
By end of day Sunday.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. And so just all right. So you've made a commitment, and I just really I want to just say something. You're out of the gate. You already sent me that list. You're already now beginning to put some meat or some bones in, right? And so I'm really excited about this for you, and can't wait to have you let me know.
Sure.
I'm going to throw out Monday.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Sure.
That would be fabulous. Okay, so Carol, we're going to stop.
Okay.
And allow for Mark to come on.
Okay.
And do a little debrief of our short coaching that happened today.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Good. Thank you so much.
Yes. No. Thank you.
Good. And here's Mark.
And here we are, and hopefully you can hear me fine. Allison,
yes.
Carol, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. So Allison, I just want to check in with you first, and just 10 minutes. How was that for you?
Well, it's short, and it was a big topic, and of course, Carol is, she was ready to go. She wanted to talk about it. It wasn't, I just basically felt I was creating that kind of structure for her to make it more real and come up with some things.
Yeah. And when you talk about making it, more real, as you say, what do you think were some of the real key pieces for you in there that really stimulated that discussion for Carol, that you did well?
Well, finding out what she wanted to use the time for. I mean, Carol said, I wanna, determine what's inside this book. And so that, that worked well for me. She was very coachable. How's that? Yeah,
exactly. Carol, I just want to check. So, through that conversation, and as Allison said, Carol, if you could say a TSN turning point in there for you, what was in there that really sort of created that aha moment for you in there in your thinking?
I think it was a combination, Mark, of a couple of things. One was the encouragement by Allison, and the acknowledgement of the fact that I'm on my way, because it's like the train has left the station. May not have a lot of things on the train at this point, but it's left the station. So that acknowledgement, which makes me feel, if you think of a continuum, I just feel like I'm now on the continuum and moving along. So that was really reinforcing. And then the move towards making another commitment, which firms it up a little bit more to move to another step. Yeah.
No, and thank you so much for that. Allison, when you hear that and you hear that piece around the encouragement, how does that feel for you?
Great. That, because, when we're coaching, this is what it makes it real. It like Carol said, the train has left the station. She's speaking this out loud. She's declaring this. Maybe just to her coach. I mean, although in this case, I think a lot more than her coach in this webinar. But so that is so exciting to help to support people when I'm coaching in making whatever it is that they want to have happen in their lives real.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting in using that the train has left the station. I would consider you the person with your hand on the whistle. And when she said something, you're the one screaming on the whistle as you drive by and get everybody excited.
Right.
To hear Carol talk about the acknowledgement piece and the encouragement, if I can share some things with you about, some things I noticed right up front, was that acknowledgement around Carol's experience and how that personal experience coming to the table and feeding back to her. And it seemed to shift Carol into further conversations about a shift in how she would approach either the chapters or the book, just from that personal view. And that was reinforced later when Carol talked about, I don't want to be theoretical, academia. I want it to be, this is the reality in healthcare type of book. So that acknowledgement of her experience, I just noticed a shift in Carol, and Carol, maybe you could speak to that. But Allison, it showed up in several times through, like that acknowledgement. I think that's a real strength of yours, is that acknowledgement and that encouragement of what you're hearing in her voice. And then that excitement at the end is just part of who you are. Your presence as she's wrapping it up, it's like you're out of the gate, you're putting meat on the bones, and there's an excitement in your voice as well. So those are definitely some things that you bring to the table. If there was an area that you thought you could maybe play with a little bit more, what might that have been?
Okay, yes. Well, and in our model, I was thinking about this, and then I got a little sidetracked, partially because we're doing it in this webinar format, and it's a little distracting and all of that. But was one of our our steps is to clear the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about, maybe we could have talked more about what if anything is getting in the way. What needs to, what is going to make this absolutely, happen for her and ideal? What's the ideal process, and what does she need to, what might be happening for her or around her that might be distracting her?
Yeah. And it was interesting because you, if I can share something around that, is the one piece within there that I thought there was a little bit of a shift, and I wasn't sure, and just checking in on your thinking was probably 2/3 of the way through, you mentioned something about with the time, and then you shifted from sort of almost digging deeper into sort of what her thinking was around the chapters to the time became important for you, and it went to process, trying to get to something. And
right.
I'm curious from your point, if you weren't worried about the time, how would you maybe have approached this conversation if you weren't thinking of a time crunch?
I would have dug a little deeper. I would have dug a little deeper. And what is required of Carol? What is required of Carol to really guarantee that that this is going to be a great experience for her and is going to happen?
Yeah. No, thank you for that.
Okay.
And I was just curious around the time, because I know that this is the reality of many conversations, is we have 10 minutes. And how valuable it was hearing to Carol about declaring the train has left the station. And it's just, in that moment, and how conscious we are of time and what happens when we let go of time. And how our thinking as we coach, just being in that moment of decisions as coaches. Well, thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks, Mark. And so now, and thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
And so now, Mark, you're on the hot seat. And hi, Leah.
Hi.
And so Mark, you've got about 10 minutes, and then we'll debrief after that. And so we'll switch to this one, and I will go off my webcam and let you two just show. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Allison.
Okay.
Well, hi, Leah.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again. And I'm so excited based on, how we finished up our previous conversation. And, similar to what Allison did, I know last time we framed it, we've got the virtual audience with us. And I just want to check in with you on your comfort with continuing the conversation and checking in with you today as well.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you for checking in.
You're good on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought your A game?
I hope so.
Great. So last time we had some things and in terms of where you wanted to focus in, and I want to check in with you on those things, and sort of since we spoke last, what's changed for you? What's happened for you since we last checked in?
Yeah, I would say quite a bit has changed for me in terms of the way I'm thinking. So last time we talked, I had highlighted about my desire to maybe look at getting into public speaking, but I was feeling a bit stuck with that. And one of the things that I came away with that I've used quite a bit since we spoke in the last month was the reframing of that stuck feeling to the phrase pause of preparation, as POP, as you had said.
Yeah.
That actually really made a big difference for me to sit down with my own thoughts and do some reflection about the reasons why I wanted to get into public speaking. So part of that process for me was to spend a little bit of time reflecting on what value I can bring. So obviously that for me that links to the why do I actually want to do this, and so that was actually a really good process for me to just really sit with that and think about that, and you know, to get some of those thoughts down on paper, which helped me to feel like I was using that preparation time wisely, but it also felt like forward action for me as well.
That's great. So what I'm hearing there, and I just want to sort of, you know, if I can sort of reflect back what I'm hearing is, you know, that, and you brought it back to me too, you know, the pause of preparation, right? And it's interesting because as you say it, I'm smiling inside and I'm looking at you in terms of, it's just this, almost the simplicity of a reminder. The other piece is the value of the reflective practice of finding that why, is what I'm hearing. So with the time we have, and you know, for today, you know, looking at those two things and moving forward, as you said, forward action on those, what would be the best use of the time that you want to explore?
Well, what I'm thinking is to stay in the same vein of the public speaking topic. One of the things that I found in the past month, even though I have been able to accomplish that piece around self-reflection and the why, is just being able to carve out some time to start thinking about, okay, so what's my plan? What are some next steps for me to move forward to pursuing this? Life is quite busy for me. I have a young daughter. She's 18 months. And so she's a bundle of energy and takes up quite a bit of time. Plus I have my own coaching practice and my own business to run. So I just need to, I think, maybe explore how I can make sure that I build in some time for myself to continue to plan this out and to work through it. Yeah.
Sure. No, and you know, I'm just listening to you know, an 18-year-old, your own practice, your own business. Yeah.
Sorry, 18 months.
18 months. Sorry, mine. I'm thinking older. Yeah, I know. 18 months. Yeah, wait till well, you know what's interesting is 18 months. Pretty soon, your daughter's going to be using the same questions you are, trying to find the why.
Probably.
Why,
yeah.
right? So you're both going to be in the same frame.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. The piece around moving forward. So when you're looking at, you know, you've got your 18-month-old daughter, you've got your own coaching practice, you've got your business, as you talked about. How do you currently allocate where you spend your time?
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate that my daughter goes to a day home 4 days a week, and so I definitely try and dedicate that time to I'll say businessy type things. I try to avoid the household chores and whatnot. One of the things I do that has been successful for me is I use it's a productivity planner, basically, where basically it helps you to prioritize. You know, you have to finish the high priority item before you move on to the next items, that type of thing. You allocate certain amounts of time, and you reflect back at the end of the day what worked, what didn't work, etc. So that does really work for me. Just having that structure around how I allocate my time. I guess the challenge I'm finding is it gets very full very quickly. So it's almost like if I want to pursue public speaking, it's another thing on my plate. Something that I want to do. It's not in a bad way, but it's just about how do I make sure I give it the time that I want to give it, and make sure I just have some balance with that and making sure I get everything else done.
Okay. You know, I think what I'm finding, it's interesting as you're talking about, you know, like creating that, is it, again, you know, when I hear you talk about balance, is it, as I'm listening, I'm curious, is it balance or is it aligning with the direction of where you want to go?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's probably more aligning with where I want to go. Because, you know, now that I think about it, I actually have pretty good balance. But I guess it's something I want to do. I want to integrate it into my life. And because it's important to me, and because I think I can offer value to others, I think I can be of benefit to others, I can help challenge their thinking and help them grow, I need to give it the attention that it deserves.
Okay. That's a powerful statement. What you just said. I need to give it the attention it deserves. So when you think about that, what is gonna sort of ignite you to lean into that and give it the attention that it deserves, as you say?
Probably actually just diving into it. You know, I think back to the pause of preparation and whatnot, and that was the right thing for me to do, to figure out my why. But maybe what I'm wondering about now is, if I'm not building in the time to spend on it, maybe I'm just a bit hesitant. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, what would change for you if you dove in and gave it the attention that you talk about?
It probably would become higher on my priority list. It probably would be bumped up a little bit higher than some other things are, which is interesting to think, because, I mean, you know, I've always thought, up until now, I've been thinking that, I'm not able to carve out the time because I've got all this other stuff. But maybe it's just I need to move it up on my priority list, basically.
Okay. So I'm sort of looking at the clock, and I'm going to sort of, you know, be conscious of and respecting that time. As we talk about this over the next period of time, what's, you know, based on what we've talked, what's something that you can commit to over the next couple of weeks?
You know what, I can commit to giving it some dedicated time every day. I'm going to say half an hour every day during that period of time that my daughter's taken care of, Monday to Thursday. So for me, obviously, that's 2 hours, and just essentially dive into it, like start actually putting down my plan. I think it's kind of circulating up in my brain, but I just haven't really spent some time with actually getting it down and looking at it and figuring out how all those ideas I have as to how I can move forward with that, how they fit into a bigger strategy.
Yeah. And when you start thinking about that and you visualize that, how will you know you're getting closer to the alignment with the why it's important for you, as you speak about?
You know, I suspect it'll probably be that it won't feel like I'm having to carve out time for it. It'll be that I am enjoying it. It's flowing, it's coming along, and I am in the process. So I think that will be my signal that, it doesn't feel like something I'm trying to cram into my day. It will be something that I want to get into.
Okay. Yeah. Check the smile out, right?
You
need a mirror.
Yeah,
when you
totally.
say that, the energy completely changes. You know, Leah, I just want to say thank you so much, and thank you for sharing this with the virtual audience. You know, I I watch and you know, and I'm blessed to see the smile on your face as you talk about this. And I look forward to hearing about the next steps and how this, you know, the alignment to your why gets embraced to the attention that you speak of. So thank you so much for just being who you are. I love it. You got me excited now.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's great. And thank you, Mark. It was great. The time flew by. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks so much.
Okay, so coaching demo number 2. All right, and so I'm gonna check in with Leah first, and you've already made some comments, but I'm curious because you know your focus is to do the public speaking, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so and always in coaching, when somebody comes to us, they have a gap between where they are and where they want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because if there's no gap, there's no coaching. There's no reason to coach. And so for you at this point, where are you at with that?
I'm feeling good. I feel like despite the session being very short, although I mentioned that it felt like the time flew by, it felt like a minute.
Right.
I got so much out of the conversation. I feel much more positive about how I'm going to move forward. Energized, I guess I would say as well. Yeah. And just feeling a good sense of calm would be the other thing that I would say around what we talked about.
So ready to move forward.
Yeah.
Energized, a sense of calm.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic, because that is ideal. I mean, that's what we want when someone is coached as much as possible. It's not always every single time, but for somebody to, and this is a sign of a great coach too, is that you're energized at the end of your coaching. So that's a terrific. Now, is there anything you would have liked to have been different about this coaching for you?
You know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. The one thing I guess I would just highlight that I think worked really well for me was I started out the conversation talking about time. Like I just don't have enough time. And through the conversation, I definitely felt the shift, and through Mark's questions, the shift from worrying about not having enough time to thinking more about the alignment piece. And so for me, that was really key. There was one question in particular, and I can't quite remember what that question was now, but that just, I felt that shift in myself.
Okay, well, I think it might have been it started with how will you know, I think is something, and you said, and this was and I really want to point this out for this coaching today, you know, not every single time is there a big, you know, it's about supporting someone moving forward easier, quicker, faster than they would have, and not every single time does all of the, you know, epiphanies occur necessarily. But today, that was very potent, what I heard you say, which was, I won't need to carve out time. It'll, or something, you said something to that effect, I'll just be doing it.
Yeah.
So, so that, you know, in that short space of time, in 10 minutes, that occurred. So, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and you can just it's really very valuable, and your willingness to do this in quite a public way. So, just thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Good, and so Mark. All right.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, and
Hi,
so for you, what do you know at this point, and it's just. We've only had a short time since you did it. What do you think you did really well?
Well, Leah is so coachable, and I mean, I feel pretty blessed. She comes across that big screen with the big smile, and it's pretty hard not to feel connected to somebody like that. There's a great energy with Leah, and she is very coachable. So it's, you know, it's just, I think the event, like, I was really feeding off. I was just looking in. I didn't take any notes. I was just so focused on her eyes and her posture, and how she was responding, and that's what I was feeding off of. It was like, okay, there's something there, you know, just a little head nod, or there's a change in the tone of her voice. So this platform, to see her, I could just, there was things that were popping up, and I think that's where that question of, you know, is this really about balance or alignment came from? Because I heard some things in the tone of her voice, and I thought, that's almost like an energy drain. And what if we can shift this to a different place? Is there a word that resonates that would allow her to look at it differently? And that's why I just sort of, you know, can I ask you a question? Is it this or this? And I just sort of went with my gut on that one. Took a chance, so to speak.
Yeah, and that was a wonderful demonstration of that too, because it was you know, that shifting her thinking, that making it much more powerful than before, and you being willing, and even in this public environment, you know, this public way of taking a risk. That's good coaching. A coach is willing to take risks, Mark, and you did that. And it certainly, you also got clear. You know, another thing that you did is you made sure you knew, what are we talking about? This is very huge in coaching, is this importance of, at least even when it's short, what specifically, what are we using this time for? And it helps the coachee, of course, get clear themselves, right? And sort of more focused. And you definitely did that. You asked some nice how questions. How do you currently dedicate your time? Or you said something like that. Very, very nice. Oh, and that check-in at the beginning, where you're creating that nice container for the coaching to occur, and checking in with her and creating that rapport. You're very, very good at that. You did some nice reflecting back of what you were hearing her, you know, say. And I was looking at the kind of the key steps in a what we call a coaching exchange, and you identified, what are we talking about? You started to dig a little deeper, you know, tell me more, discover let's kind of dig in a bit more, and got her talking. She did most of the talking, which you always want to see in a coaching interaction, is that if you're doing all the talking as the coach, it ain't coaching. So, and you did a fabulous job of drawing it out of her. And yeah, she was definitely coachable. There's no question about it. You also really, this thing about shifting from balance to alignment, I mean, that's actually a strategy. You know, it actually transformed her. Yeah, I mean, there's a strategy that's going to support me in making this happen, is alignment, because it very much resonated with her, or it certainly appeared that to me. So really nice. You got her to you know, I thought, sort of look at what's getting in the way, and she talked about her not 18-year-old, that was funny, but her 18-month-old darling daughter, and you know, how that's going, and how she's navigating while she's at the day home, and being very present to, well, what am I doing with that time, and not getting kind of caught up. I mean, you see, you were presencing what was important to her, what mattered to her. She was creating her life, her future, what's going on right there in the moment, by having you be the person to work with on this. And then reminding her, when she said, I thought this was, that's a powerful statement. I think it was something to do with that. But you reminded her, hey, you know, that's pretty powerful. And I can tell you, I can guarantee, Mark, that you have caused, there will be a lot of reflecting going on as a result of this time that you spent with her, as she, 90% of the coaching happens in between the coaching, and you created that when you did that with her. I like this one. What would change for you if you dove in? I think is what you said. You challenged her. You demonstrated to me you are an advocate. You are an advocate for her. That's what we want to do in coaching, is be that advocate that really believes in their possibility, and you did that a tremendous amount. So I'm wondering, what if you had to do it all over again? What, if anything, or you had more time, what would you have liked to have done?
That's an interesting question, and it's, I kind of reflecting on that. I tend to, how we talk about what are some of the things getting in the way, what are some of the obstacles, and I always wrestle because my mindset is, how do we plant the seeds of that forward movement? And that's sort of where that question came, what's going to ignite you to actually take this on, versus what are some of the things that are going to hold you back? And I often wrestle with, spending time in what's going to hold you back. And I'm sure there's a time it would be, I probably could have played more around what maybe will get in the way. But I chose the, what's going to light that fire to really get you to dig in kind of thing. So, I guess, either. It would have been interesting, the discussion also, maybe with more time, I would have got into, does it have to be either when she looks at the prioritization of things? Does it have to be finding more time? Or how does this public speaking fit with so much of what you already do? How does it just become an extension? So does it have to be, I need time specifically for public speaking versus what gets bumped out of the way? Does it have to be one or the other? Or can it actually be combined? And I kind of made a choice to stay out of there, maybe just because of time. I don't know why I didn't go there, but that was a thought too. So again, there's a few things that I probably would have done differently.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, all right. So thank you so much. And I also know we actually have a few minutes left. So we're worrying about the time, and we've actually got a few minutes left. And I'm curious if anybody, what, as a result of, somebody's raised their hand, and it's Kara. So Kara, I'm going to just promote you to a panelist, and could you speak? Kara, go ahead. Let's see if we can, you just need to turn your mic off, or on, excuse me. Oh, there she is. Hi, Kara.
Hi. I actually raised my hand by mistake. Sorry, I was just doing it on my phone, and I was just, sorry.
No, there's no apologies. And while I've got you, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You've been watching this. What are you walking away with as a result of these demonstrations today?
I think one thing is that you don't really need a lot of time to do, some coaching that's effective. So I think that's an important thing.
Great. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And sorry for putting you on the spot, Kara, but I instantly saw this hand go up, so I just thought I'd jump on that. And well, thank you so much. And anybody else? Good. Anybody else? What are you walking away with as a result of observing these coaching demonstrations today? Anybody else? I'm just looking and seeing. You could chat, you could raise your hands, and everybody's shy, I think, is what, or maybe I'm not looking at the right list. Okay. Well, all right. So just a quick reminder. Oh, there's a message here. I'm just going to look, and I can't quite see it. Ah, the forwardness. Of the questions. Okay, meaning I'm curious about that. I don't know if we can get you on the. Is that O'Brien? I'm just going to see. Would you be willing to speak? Have you got a audio capability? Maybe not. Not sure. Okay. I'd love to hear what you meant by that, because that's a great comment. And I'm going to try and just synthesize what I might have heard there. Is, yeah, our job is to support the person moving forward and taking action. So our job is to be an advocate and a coach for them in asking questions that support them, or will, we believe in them, and we believe they can do whatever it is that they want to do. And so those questions are designed to really, demonstrate that. And I'm also, okay, so anybody else, not getting caught discussing the present, but questioning on the desired outcome. Okay, thank you. Thank you for more clarity on that. Really helpful. All right, so I just want to say that what I didn't say at the very beginning is I really want to acknowledge people for coming. And I also want to remind you that Coaching Out of the Box is here to support your coaching development, whether it's in an organization, whether you want to expand your skills, or whether you want to become ICF certified. And so please know we are here to talk, answer any questions, and we look forward to having you on some of our webinars in the new year. So thank you, everybody, and thanks. I see some more comments here in the chat area. Thanks, Marcel. And everybody, have a great rest of your day, and thanks for attending our webinar. We'll be sending a follow-up email, so you'll all have this. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.